However, this was neither the first nor the last property of Muslims demolished by various governments and authorities in India. According to the report of Amnesty International, between April and June of 2022, at least 128 properties, largely owned by Muslims, were destroyed in various states of northern India. This included 36 in Gujarat, 56 in Madhya Pradesh, 25 in Delhi, 8 in Assam, and 3 in Uttar Pradesh. In the towns of Khargone and Sendhwa in Madhya Pradesh on 10th April 2022, violence broke out between Hindus and Muslims during Ram Navami, a festival that celebrates the birth of Hindu god Ram, in whose name the Babri Masjid was also demolished. A day after this, the district administration of these towns launched mass demolitions of the Muslim properties, including their houses and shops.
दंगाइयों के लिए ऐसा नहीं होता है जैसा आप कह रहे हैं। जो लोग वो जो बंदूक से गोली चला के एसपी को घायल कर दें, आप उनसे भी जरा पूछिए कि वो किस कानून के तहत तलवारें चला देते हैं, आईसीयू में छोटे छोटे बच्चों को भर्ती कर देते हैं, निरीह लोगों पर पत्थर फेंक देते हैं। ये विकृत मानसिकता के लोग हैं।
On the same day, 10th April, violence broke out in the towns of Khambhat and Himmatnagar in Gujarat during the Ram Navami processions. On 15th April, the state administration destroyed several kiosks owned by Muslims in the area. On 16th April 2022, communal violence broke out in Jahangir Puri during the Hanuman Jayanti procession. 3 days later, the BJP state president Adesh Gupta requested the North and South Delhi Municipal Councils (NDMC) to demolish the encroachment of government land by Bangladeshi Rohingya and antisocial elements. While NDMC proceeded with demolition, it was challenged in the Supreme Court on the 20th of April by the Jamiat Ulema-e-Hind, resulting in a stay in demolition. However, NDMC violated the court's order and demolished 25 shops and makeshift carts of Muslims in Khushal Road, Jahangir Puri. On May 21, 2022, in Nagaon in Assam, a Bengali Muslim fisherman, Safiqul Islam, died in police custody at Bata Drava police station after he was arrested for arbitrary detention. Demanding action, his family protested in front of the police station. The police station was burnt down, and as a form of retribution, the houses of the accused were demolished. In Nuh, in August 2023, following the communal violence, almost 500 to 1200 building structures owned by Muslims were demolished. This included permanent shops, medical stores, and kiosks owned by Muslims. In June 2024, soon after the BJP's second term in Mandla, Madhya Pradesh, 11 homes of Muslims were demolished on the eve of Bakrid, accusing them of storing beef. In August 17, 2024, the house of a minor Muslim boy who was accused of stabbing his classmate was demolished in Udaipur, calling the structure illegal, saying it was built on the Forest Department's land. The strange fact is that the house did not even belong to the boy's family. It was a rented place where 4 other families lived. In the same month, in Chhatarpur in Madhya Pradesh, the house of the Congress leader Shehzad Ali was demolished, saying that it lacked construction permits. This happened right after the incident of stone pelting in Chhatarpur during a protest by Muslims against the remarks made by Ram Giri Maharaj about the Prophet Muhammad. Before getting into the further nuances of the practice of demolition in India, let us try to understand the concept itself. When it comes to the demolition practices in India, it can happen due to several reasons by both state and non-state actors. The first one is the demolitions often done in the garb of redevelopment and beautification plans of the authorities. In a report by Housing and Land Right Network titled Land Dispossession, Forced Evictions and the 2010 Communal Wealth Games, it has been found that a total of 19 building structures were demolished in Delhi as part of the Commonwealth Games in 2010. 9 of them were directly demolished for construction related to the event. 9 other sites were demolished for reasons of city beautification and security prior to the games. One of the sites in Cement Godam Basti was demolished for a 5-star hotel. which was expected to open in time for the Games. This had been done during the recent G20 summit when slums were cleared and hidden from public visibility. According to another report by the Housing and Land Rights Network on Forced Evictions, around 59% of the demolitions were under slum clearance, encroachment and beautification projects in the years 2022-23. We've done a very detailed and in-depth story on this topic in this video, focusing on the case of Yamuna settlements in Delhi. The second type of demolition is the targeted forms of demolition, which are often done against collectively owned structures of religious minorities, in this case, Muslims. A major example of this would be the demolition of Babri Masjid. On 6th December 1992, the 460-year-old Babri Masjid in Ayodhya was vandalized and destroyed by Hindutva mobs who claimed that an ancient Ram temple stood at the site. Even though it was not a state-sponsored eviction, the participation of the currently ruling BJP's top leaders, including L.K. Advani, Murli Manohar Joshi, Uma Bharti, Vinay Katiyar, Ashok Singhal, and former Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh, Kalyan Singh, were evident. The targeting of the Muslim religious spaces continued with the demolition of Akhundji Mosque in Mehrauli on 30th January 2024, Shahi Masjid in Prayagraj on January 9, 2023, and another mosque in Muzaffarnagar in November of 2022. Along with this, multiple mosques in India are facing court petitions filed by the right-wingers alleging that they were temples. This model re-emerged in Haldwani on February 8, 2024, when the municipal authorities of Haldwani demolished the Abdul Razzaq Zakaria Madrasa, also known as Malik ke Baghiche ka Madrasa, and the Maryam Mosque in Bambulpura with bulldozers, citing them as illegal structures. This attack on the religious sites of minorities as a form of targeted demolition finds a pattern around the world. In China, the burial ground of the Uyghur and the other Turkic Muslims were razed by the authorities in 2019 for building a park. Since 2017, almost 16,000 mosques have also been destroyed in Xinjiang by the Chinese authorities. The Chinese have also led the demolitions of buildings in Laranghar, one of the largest centers of Tibetan Buddhist learning, owing to overpopulation. Close by, the Burmese authorities have also been using the bulldozer to wipe out villages of Rohingya Muslims. After demolishing buildings through arson, these villages which become inhabitable are then cleared out. The third form is the use of demolition against individuals, which is more isolated in format. This was followed in the case of Javed Muhammad, labeling him as a violence perpetrator and targeting his home. This punitive form of demolition in India was started by the UP government under the Yogi Adityanath regime, who as a result was called the Bulldozer Baba.
बुलडोजर बाबा एक बुलडोजर बाबा बना दी बुलडोजर बाबा.
He got this name by continuously invoking the bulldozers to fight mafias during his election campaign in 2022. Thus, the bulldozer came to be the most popular election symbol of the year. When the bulldozer was evoked along with multiple Islamophobic speeches of Yogi, it attained religious garb.
पिछले उत्तर प्रदेश के 2022 के इलेक्शन में हमने देखा कि योगी साहब का जहाँ पे इलेक्शन का कैंपेन चल रहा होता था, वहाँ पर बुलडोजर रखे होते थे.
वहाँ देखो बुलडोजर भी खड़े हैं मेरी सभा में.
तो वो बुलडोजर और साथ में वो नारे भी लगाए जाते थे कि मुल्ला को हमने टाइट कर दिया, ये कर दिया. तो ये पूरा मॉडल जो है वो रिवेंज का मॉडल है.
He talks about how Adityanath's campaign in 2022 used bulldozer as a symbol of revenge. It was first used to crack down gangster Vikas Dubey in 2020, who was accused of killing 8 policemen, and against politician Mukhtar Ansar during that time. This transition from targeted and collective demolitions to individual and isolated demolitions is also another strategy to curb opposition. In instances where a collective structure is demolished, there is a sense of unitarian opposition. This was seen during the opposition to the Babri Masjid demolitions. However, with the atomization of the attacks on specific individuals of the community, Hindutva forces effectively nullify the formation of an opposition. This is also the strategy followed in the cases of hate crime. While it moved from communal riots to lynchings, the subjects became isolated. This does not mean that the effect on the community has decreased by any measure.
Obviously, in instances of mass communal violence, it is obviously tangible and visible that large parts of the community are affected. But what is happening with these individualized so-called lynching cases, for instance, or hate crime cases, is that the effect on the community is much more subtle and it's much more insidious.
Along with this, the people whose houses have been demolished are called criminals and culprits, their properties illegal. This has weakened any kind of opposition. Along with this, the fear of their own properties getting demolished have also held back people from resisting the bulldozer Raj. This is the same model followed by Israel also. The Israeli government demolished the homes of Palestinians who were accused of security offenses either by blowing their homes with explosives or by destroying them with bulldozers. As opposed to India, in Israel, the demolition and occupation of Palestinian properties have a legal mandate. The Regulation 119 of the Defense Emergency Regulations of 1945 permits Israeli occupationary authorities to demolish and seal buildings in the occupied territories. The families were prohibited from rebuilding any structures. These structures were, in fact, legally forfeited to the Israeli government.